as with all cheetahs, you could take a skin graft from a cheetah in the Mara and it would work on the cheetahs in Iran. They have such little genetic diversity between the whole total population of cheetah. So yes, it is good, but it's not. There isn't that much genetic diversity with them. So cheetah reached a genetic bottleneck about 10,000 years ago, where scientists say there were less than 100 cheetah left in the whole world, and they've come back from then. And a lot of cheetah success has actually been due to man removing other predators like lions and hyenas, and that has helped them to a degree to come back. Cheetah are one of those, because they're probably my favorite big cat. I do love a leopard, but cheetahs. I love all the cats, but I think cheetahs might be my favorite of the big cats. There's some zebra in the background. And so they, as I said, they reached that genetic bottleneck about 10,000 years ago, and more than likely, cheetah are going to be a failed branch of the evolutionary tree. Eventually it's just going to die, that branch of the big cats. And a lot of that has not to do with pressure from man and stuff. They've just become so over specialized, and that they are forgoing all strength and for that speed, and any little injury they lose a lot of cubs to other predators. They can't really defend themselves. So like saber-toothed cats became extinct with the advent of social cats like lions, you'll probably find a cheetah, not in our lifetime, but maybe in a few lifetimes, will also be one of those failed branches like saber-toothed cats and running hyenas and giant hyenas and all sorts of other creatures that used to live on these African plains. Okay, I'm going to try and get a little bit closer to the cheetah, and then I'm going to be testing whether we have signal and comms with Rebecca on top of the hill. But while we do that, Rebecca has asked me to link to Taylor's wit and charm. I'm not sure she's got either.
It's rude, Brent. Rude. So funny. Yes, I was just going to entertain you with stories, but I don't need to, because the animals have now joined the sighting. They've actually come running in. They've saved me today. The zebra heard about Taylor and wit and charm and thought, oh no, we better save this girl. So they've come charging in. There's not too many of them, just a small herd of zebra all around here. I suspect they're going to head towards the Mara River for their daily drink. They look a little bit antsy, don't they? Careful, guys, because there's plenty crocs down there at the moment who would maybe like to snap you up, especially that small zebra foal. Well, it's not tiny, probably about a year old now, all coming together. Maybe they're going to have a dust bath, or a fight. It seems as though one is being a little bit cheeky in the middle, and maybe heading to places it shouldn't be heading, or sticking its nose where it shouldn't be sticking its nose. That one didn't seem to like it very much, some of the youngsters. Zebra are really amazing to watch. If you ever go on safari and you have time and you haven't got your checklist out chasing all the big cat sightings, I highly recommend just watching a herd of zebra for ages. They're really great, and just because of the social dynamics. They're very social creatures. Obviously, they're constantly reassuring one another, strengthening the bonds from grooming to playing. The playing part is my absolute favorite, and they are such playful creatures too. Here you go. Getting a little bit excited. They've just got a very determined way about them this morning. One just gave a big yawn, like me today. Hasn't quite woken up just yet. Ears pricked forward. Looks like a young stallion. I don't think that this is... if this is the big stallion of the herd, I don't think he's very experienced. I've seen much larger boys out here. He's probably only a couple of years old, maybe 4 or 5 years old. But he's still got quite a bit of growing to do. His neck is nowhere near as thick as sort of some of the top dogs out here. Again, his hindquarters and shoulders are definitely lacking. You'll get there eventually, but he's taking up and doing exactly what a stallion that is in charge of a herd would do, leading the way to the river, making sure his herd is safely behind him. I think he's just an eager beaver. That must be another young zebra stallion there. His nose on the ground. What are you smelling? Now, Becca Sue, a great question. We're wondering about how long zebra foals will stay with their mum for. Well, if it's a female, you'll probably find that it will end up living within that herd. If it's a stallion, when they get to a couple of years old, zebras will have a foal every single year. And it's not uncommon to see mom with her 2 offspring. But typically around 3 years old, 2.5, 3 years old, the stallions will start moving out and forming bachelor groups and leaving big herd. This actually looks like they're mainly young stallions in here. I think maybe it was just the one mare with her youngster, and then the rest of them are all boys, which is quite interesting. So they'll suckle. For about 6 months they're normally weaned, but you'll see them right at mom's side when they're 6 months and younger. They don't sort of venture too far off, and then they become brave and start moving around playing with everyone else. Very fluffy though, that fella. He'll lose that fluffiness eventually. You need to get a curry comb and start brushing away. That actually looks like a real winter coat. If any of you have had horses that have slept out and maybe they're not rugged because they don't need to be rugged, but that's always what they look like, trying to get rid of that horrible winter coat that comes through. And of course they need it to stay nice and warm. Ideally we want our horses, especially if they're competition horses, to have nice sleek shiny coats, short coats. And they come the rest of them here. These look like older boys at the back here. And one mare. Yeah, he looks a bit better, that fella in the middle. Much more sort of what I would expect, a stallion in charge of a herd. So I think that's what happened here. I think there's just a mare with her offspring and surrounded with the boys. Safety in numbers, maybe she got separated and she just joined up with this bachelor group, and there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, you've got a nasty injury on your hindquarter. Can you see that? Right over there. What has happened to your bottom? That looks like from fighting with other zebras. I mean, we know how sharp their teeth are. We've been very lucky we've been able to examine a zebra skull in the tent in South Africa. And we know how sharp those teeth are, and also those hooves as well. You can imagine these hooves will be quite rough-edged too. They don't get the farrier out here. The ground naturally has to start wearing it away, and it won't be very even and smooth, so I wouldn't want to be kicked by one. Now, Nikki, you're wondering, when will a stallion become dominant over a herd of females? It depends, Nikki. Again, it's so many different things. It's hard to give an exact answer. It will depend on, are there any big stallions in the area? You know, are there already established breeding herds running around? Then you might find it be a bit difficult to try and get involved, especially if you're a young up-and-coming stallion. You might have to start in the least favorable areas and work your way sort of to the top and to the prime grazing lands and the river's edge. But anywhere from about, I would say, but from about 4 years old, I reckon they could start. You know, you might get lucky, you might find a really, really old stallion that's, you know, absolutely exhausted. He can't go on any longer. But the reality is, you might find it only between 5 and 7 years old that they could start to mate. There's so many zebra out here that there is so much competition. And if you're not a fit and strong enough male, you might never mate, ever, in your entire life. It might just be one of the things. But they're very cheeky, this group. They're all been greeting one another. You can see that they're playing about. They're really, you know, starting to challenge one another for dominance. And eventually they'll leave the bachelor group and go off and try and find a herd of their own. That's beautiful. Thank you for that, zebra. That was very nice. Very interested. Yeah, you've been fighting quite a bit. Wonderful. Let me reposition because they're going to disappear out of frame now. What on earth have I pressed? Windscreen wipers. Sounds like a car's going to take off or explode. One of the two. Now, what was that question from Melissa? And it was, do the females stay in their herd? They can, but there's also, like what we've seen here, I reckon that there's been some separation within the herd, and now gone off. Whether she will find her herd again, but typically they will. Maybe if a group gets too big, will break away, they'll form smaller groups. So it really just depends. Out here, you know, when they migrate, they're not really sort of established groups like we normally see zebra. They're all just moving, looking for grass, sticking together. They actually are running towards, there's a road down here. Let's see if there's, I think there is a road going down to this section. Maybe those lions will move down. Those lions disappeared out of frame. They were on the rocks. We couldn't quite normally drink them early in the morning, later in the afternoon, any time of the day actually. And again, they don't have to go all the way down. There's lots of puddles on the sides of the roads. That would be perfect water troughs for a zebra. Hello, Topi. And off we go. Okay, we're almost there. We're on the river's edge. Come on, boys. Hop, hop, hop. So I want to just check to see if I haven't missed maybe that lion moving. What am I looking at in the tree? Can you see that, Ferg? What does that look like to you? A knot in the tree. Is it in the tree? What is that? I've lost my binoculars. Oh, it's baboons! Lots of baboons sitting in the tree. I was hoping it was going to be lucky and it was going to be a leopard up there with a kill, but it is not. That's okay. The baboons haven't quite started their day out. I reckon they're probably roosting there now. They're grooming themselves, trying to warm up in the little sun that's out before they start their day, and foraging and looking for all sorts of things to eat. Oh, that's quite nice, though. Do you know that I don't even know what sound the baboons make here? I've not heard an olive baboon alarm. Absolutely nothing. I would assume they would bark like the chukma baboons, but I have yet to hear them. So that's a sound I need to add to the list. See if they make exactly the sound. Cool. Let's go to the river. Let's quickly investigate and see what's going on. Can't see our lions just yet. They're a little bit further around the bend though. But they can move quickly. There's a variety of animals up here, so it could be quite nice. No wildebeest though, just Topi, zebra, odd Thompson's gazelle, baboons of course. You can never lose when you come down to the Mara River. There's always something, from a bird to a crocodile to a hippopotamus. You know, if you're lucky enough, you see water monitors. Go through here. Still just scanning down to the left. I see some cars moving around. Maybe there's some more lions laying about. The grass is pretty long where those cars are, so if there is anything in the grass, we're not going to see it, unfortunately. Just quickly check. Hi, zebra. Morning, morning. Oh, this must have been a sleeping spot because there's loads of them. Alright, let's find a good spot. Ooh. There we go. No, don't panic. That's no need to panic, zebra. Jason, you were wondering what would happen to the herd if the stallion was killed. Probably a new stallion would just come in and take on over. Stallions do have quite a good relationship with their mares, though. They definitely spend some time sort of grooming the females, and you'll see there's normally one female that he just absolutely adores. So I don't think it'll be particularly nice for the group, but in the end, if there is a gap in the market, another stallion is going to take that opportunity and move on in. Whether the mares would be very happy about that, I'm not so sure. It would take some time to establish a bond, like with anything. It's the same thing with animals as it is with humans. You know, you have to constantly keep working on relationships with one another, especially if you're living the herd life. It's so important for your survival, because the more in tune you are with one another, the better chances you have of having each other's back just by spotting predators and, of course, working together. This is lovely. There's a big group coming down here. They don't look like they're going to cross, though. Well, not in this particular spot. Right, I'm just trying to think what we're going to do now. Buffalo, you're going to cross the river. You look like you want to come across here, don't you? I'm staring around. There's plenty of animals here. Let me just move forward. Can we have a look? Well, we're going to go forward and look into the Mara River very, very quickly. Oh, crocs. That's quite cool. We're going to do all the 2 shots today. So, another big mammal. Oh, and there's banded mongoose. There is so much going on down here. I'm just looking at the little heads that keep they keep popping up just down in there. You might have seen some stripes running past. I think that most of them have gone. Did they climb up? Oh, they're so quick. There they go. Whew, up. Must have been. And again, mongoose we know will den in termite mounds in any sort of natural crevice, and this would be a good spot here. On the banks, lots of sort of natural cavities. Water monitors will dig on the side of banks. Obviously, the variety of bird species that live there too. So maybe they're looking for something to eat. Maybe they're looking for eggs. So who knows what they're doing here? There's 2 big dugger boys, and they're just sort of staring towards us like a buffalo normally does. Big crocs laying on the bank. And one of the coolest things I saw was buffalo swimming across the Mara River. That was really nice. They're really good swimmers, in fact, which looking at a buffalo, you'd think they're quite sort of heavy set. But they can swim like you have no idea. Can you imagine a crocodile trying to take on a fully grown buffalo bull? That would be crazy, I think. Too crazy to see. A young fella though. He's in prime of his life. His horns are nice and sharp. I don't think anyone's going to be messing with him too soon. As he chews and chews and chews and chews and chews. What are those cars looking at? Huh. I'm trying to figure out what those vehicles looking at. There's a beautiful African fish eagle also just coming up. The wind's starting to pick up now. The wind is now ruffling the fishy eagle's feathers. Very cool. But we'll have a quick look around here and just I want to figure out what all the vehicles are staring at. I don't see a crossing forming just yet. However, Jamie is moving towards some large herds of animals.
Lots of herds of animals. We've got, oh, hold on, a little scrap between wildebeest over there. Lots of zebra, lots of topi, lots of wildebeest. And sometimes wildebeest can be exceptionally entertaining to sit and watch. They certainly were when they first arrived. These are the loiter herds, so these are probably going to, as far as I know, are probably going to stay here. They're not heading back towards Tanzania. But they are so entertaining to watch the males when all of them gather together as a group. Because the one male is busy going, meh, 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 trying to keep his females together. Then he sees a male running towards him, so he dashes off wildly in that direction and immediately clashes horns with the intruder, only to turn around and find that his entire group of females has been stolen by another male, so he frantically dashes off in the opposite direction. It's highly entertaining, and the sound effects are truly hilarious. They've calmed down a lot, though. Of course, most of the females will be pregnant. Oh, we've got two, sorry, Jahawi, on that side, off to the right of this gardenia. There's 2 of them having, well, I don't know if I would call it a clash so much as a horn-rubbing competition. And they're slamming their faces into the ground, gathering up mud and dirt, and also, of course, scent marking at the same time, because they do have glands there. Here we go. This is all posturing. No actual impact. Bending down on their, what is actually technically their wrists. Bounce, 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 bounce. Come at me. But don't though. I promise you I'm bigger, but let's not test it. Look how big and threatening I am. See? See what I can do? See how I can hop? Oh, I'm going to have a rest now, tired. Fair enough. Looked like hard work, really. Now I'm going to lie down and roll around a bit. You can see there was nothing serious in their approach to that whole, I don't know what you'd call it, interaction, I suppose. I'm going to have some breakfast, I'm going to lie down, And the zebra's going to be completely disinterested. Oh, wait. Did you say something? Did you say something to me? You want to say that to my face? Say it again. And I'm distracted. Actually, I wonder if it's not a stable fly or a tsetse fly or something that's biting it. Definitely something discomforting. Oh, now it's breakfast time. The life of a wildebeest is a simple one. Sleep, eat, fight, mate, often in quick succession. Oh, we've got a third party has joined the mix and seems to have sort of mediated between the two. Everybody's calmed down a great deal now. The zebra's still disinterested. Completely. Oh, coming back in. What you gonna do? Gonna do some more hopping and skipping. It's very intimidating, you know. Stephen, I'm sorry, I just wanted to watch these circling because now we've got 3 of them going at it. Stephen, hold on to your question. I'll come back to it in a second when we can have a look at the zebra. But let's just watch how this plays out with these 3 because they're being thoroughly entertaining. All right, they've calmed down. So Stephen's question is actually on the zebra rather than the wildebeest. And Stephen's wondering about how closely, genetically, zebra are related to horses. They form part of the same family. They are equids. And they are absolutely, in a way, related to horses. They are far more closely related to something like a donkey, though. So they're still the equus family. And you do get different species as well. So you get the Grevy zebra, you get the plain zebra, you get the different Grant zebras. Now there's actually quite a few. There's 3 species and quite a few subspecies as well. But yes, they are related. That brings us to the question that we so often get asked once we start talking about horses and zebra. While we look at our zebra grazing, you want to know why is it that human beings don't ride zebra? First of all, you can actually quite seriously injure them. Their back strength. Obviously, donkeys, horses, we've actually played quite a role in terms of their breeding and in terms of actually creating animals that are capable of being beasts of burden, so to speak, and riding horses and so on. But zebras' backs don't work that way. But if you can get onto the back of a zebra, even a hand-raised zebra, I will give you a round of applause. Those things bite. They kick. They just don't tame very easily at all. I've been bitten by a tame zebra. It was a highly unpleasant experience. It was very painful. Various people as a beast of burden, but it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. They're just not built that way. Okay. Oh, as our zebra nibble away, we can't ride them, but I know that there is somebody out there who I'm sure if we could, would absolutely love to.
I don't know about riding a zebra though, Jamie. I would quite like to ride a giraffe. I want to be on the tallest animal and ride one of those. But we have got our zebra. This is a different group though. I think they're all joining up. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe there'll be a crossing a little bit later today. But for now, everything seems to be calm and collected. But there's a couple of zebra that are rolling about, which is one of my favorite things to watch. As most of you know, the way that they do roll around. Now, Bex, you actually pointed out Bex is directing, for those of you that don't know. You said, look how wrinkly the skin is. So a way that I used to check if my horse was dehydrated or not, because you know the whole saying, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Sometimes you need it to. And after long rides, the easiest way is if you pull the skin of the zebra, obviously not hard, you don't hurt them, and if the skin sort of stays and it takes a very long time to go flat again, that's normally how we would tell whether our horses needed a decent drink. I wonder if that wasn't happening there, because it was quite wrinkly. Don't dehydrate yourself, zebra. That is the silliest thing to do. Well, they're all just hanging around here, eating, rolling in the dust, just resting, enjoying the day, which is very cool. It's nice to see the groups of zebra. I still can't believe when I first arrived in the Mara how absolutely incredible it was. There were just thousands of them everywhere. As many wildebeest as there were more zebra. Well, it seemed like that. And I really do miss that, having so many. There you go. One's just... Oy, careful! They're feisty, this group. And I suppose when there are so many of them in here, he's like that one annoying friend that just won't leave you alone, you know. That one there going, okay, fine, you're done, I'll go to the next one then. I'll try my luck over here. That's so cool. That would make a great cover photo. Very nice. All the bums, all the tails, all huddled together. So if you do take any screenshots, remember to always hashtag Safari Live and share them with us. Right, Brent is back on board again, and he is still with his spotted cats. Hopefully, they are hungry and are wanting to catch something.
Stripy bottoms. We're looking at a spotty bottom of one of the young boys. Now, I think he's looking for scrub hares at the moment. I'm just checking around the base of little bushes and trees along the edge of the lugger. What are you up to, mister? Or are you smelling where another cheetah male has scent marked? That could also be a possibility. Oh, his brother is busy stalking him. He's coming right next to me. Look at you. Sneaky, sneaky. You're trying to sneak up on your brother. Sneaky, sneaky little boys. Ah, you got spotted. But that doesn't mean the game is up. This is incredible. They are right next to me, a couple of feet away. Hello, Trouble 1 and Trouble 2. Aw. Hey, boys. Oh, you can actually hear them purring. Hey, what you doing? Unfortunately, we just are in that very bad sort of area for comms, and Rebecca is breaking up. I know there's a question, but I can't actually hear it. Well, here comes Mum. It looks like they are going to walk behind us, and we're going to have to move. And as I say, we're right at the base of a lugger. Let me just try and move a tiny bit. How close are they? There's one right behind, but we don't want them to be naughty where I can't see them and try jump on our roof. Okay, it looks like Malika is going to go across the I've got to find a way to cross as well, so I think I might have... Oh, look, off they go, playtime! Okay, I need to catch up with them as they've crossed that little lugger, and need to find a spot where we're going to be able to cross. And it sounds like my good friend Tristan has made it out or fixed all his gremlins. So let's go see if he's having any luck with the other spotted cat.
Basically, we had a slight antenna issue where a little piece of the antenna broke, and so we had to go back to camp and replace it and get a new cable and all kinds of other things. And so now we are back out and about, and hopefully we shall be able to stay out. It seems as though these technical little gremlins hammer me every time I'm out. Now I'm just going to remove While we were kind of making our way back towards camp, we found tracks for what looks like Hosanna, or a young male leopard, and then there was lots of guinea fowls going crazy, and we tried to find him, but we couldn't find anything. We had to get back to try and get our signal sorted out, so we went back. But I'm going to head to that area now and see if we can't get lucky. Herbie is on those tracks and he is busy following them, and hopefully he's going to find them, but we're going to just try and cut ahead of him a little bit and just see if maybe we pick up this individual somewhere in this area. I would imagine it is Hosanna. Apparently he had a little altercation with Tingana last night. It didn't seem like it was too aggressive. There was just lots of growling and hissing at each other over a carcass. I don't know whose carcass it was. I don't know how it happened, but I just know the two of them were together and they were seen kind of arguing over the fact that there was a carcass. Now, before we go any further, because I've spotted tracks not for a leopard but for an animal that I have been looking for the last few days, and I will show you exactly what I'm talking about in the next 2 seconds once I turn around and can actually see the track, because it came out of this area and has gone northwards and then looks like towards Philemon's cut line, and I think hopefully we should be able to find him. Now the light on this side as I've turned is not great, but we can see just on the edge of the road is a very large elephant track. So will you see right up against the edge of the road itself? Maybe the one closest to us is going to be more visible. Yeah, that one there where there's that little patch of grass. Just there we go, that's it. So there is a nice big elephant bull track. You can see it's on top of my tracks when I headed towards camp to get my antenna fixed, and it's heading in a northerly direction. Now the reason why I know it's a northerly direction is because you can see that wrinkled front part of the track. The back part closest to us is all nice and smooth, and so that's the back part of the foot, and so as he's walking you can always tell direction just by looking at where it's smooth. So I want to quickly see if I can find this male elephant. It looks like a male elephant given that there's just one track and the size of the track is quite large. So I wonder if it's not the same bull that Byron had a few days ago that disappeared quite quickly and seemed to be moving quite fast. But I don't think it could be too far away given that we weren't that long out of this area, and so it's only been about, I'd say, 15 minutes since we were, maybe a little bit longer, since we were here, and so I'm hoping that we will find him somewhere close by. At least Herbie's busy with the leopard tracks, and so it's worth us trying to find an Ellie. It's been such a long time since I've seen elephants, and I would love to just spend a little bit of time with an elephant bull, particularly if it's a nice big individual. It seems as though he's cut off towards Philemon's cut line side, so I'm going to just try and loop around that area and check what's going on. Hopefully he hasn't gone too far. If it is Byron's bull, the way he was walking the other day with Byron, we might have a tough time catching up with him and actually finding him in this area, because the bull seemed to move very quickly and it was not an easy process for Byron to keep up with him. So I'm hoping that it's not the same individual and that he's slowing down. Now I believe a lot of you are excited for us to track down an elephant, and where does his tracks go? I think they cross over here. So there we go, his tracks are crossing over and down towards Rebecca's, so let's quickly shoot across onto Rebecca's, and not to the Rebecca in FC and the Mara, who's the voice in our ear this morning, but maybe we'll find an elephant on Rebecca's Road, should I say. But this guy must have crossed recently, because like I say, this morning I've driven around here, there was no sign of these tracks. They're on top of the vehicle tracks, so he must be somewhere close by. Hopefully he's not in this drainage line though, because this drainage section is not great for reception. It's also very deep and thick, and it's not going to be easy for us to actually get in there. But I'm wondering where this elephant could be going to, because it's not really heading to any of the water points, and given that it's quite warm this morning, I would have thought that this elephant elephant might have gone and wandering maybe towards Treehouse Dam, maybe towards Gowrie Dam, but he seems to be going in a completely opposite direction. He's heading in a northwesterly direction, and so the closest water, if we continue to go the way we're going, is going to be all the way up near the Gowrie Gate at Sydney's Dam, unless he crosses over into Arathusa, which I suppose is also possible. Now, where are you? You would think that an elephant would be easy to spot, particularly a big bull elephant, but sometimes they can be quite sneaky, and as the vegetation starts to get a little thicker as we move into summer, so it starts to get a little harder to actually find them. Now, I am going to carry on trying to find this bull elephant. While I do that, I believe Jamie has something on the complete opposite scale in terms of size, and they are very, very cute.
They are very cute, and this little one is trotting away at high speed and causing, or was causing, absolute pandemonium amongst the little Thompson's gazelle population. A little jackal trotting all the way along down the road. I want to see where it's going, so we're going to follow it for a little bit. It was very entertaining because the one little Tommy actually followed the jackal for a while, chased after it, and then I wonder where it's going. And then eventually moved back to the rest of the group. Of course, the jackal could be a threat to a baby Tommy, like the one that we saw first thing this morning. If a jackal happened upon that, it absolutely would make a meal of it. Where are we going, little jackal? Oh, they move so quickly. Hello, Wildies. Morning. For now appears to be keeping to the road, so we can follow it. Oh, wildebeest having a look at it. Now we're off the road, wandering amongst the flowers. Well, you say you're very happy to see jackals. I'm very happy to see a jackal too. He's casting about, looking for something to scavenge, I think. He goes off at trots, moving through the shorter grasses, all that's left behind after the migration has moved through. Trot, 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 trot. Such a difference between the dogs and the cats out here. That complete stamina. Grommet, or I think it's Grommet. I did get that right. No, Rebecca, I didn't get that. Make a mistake there. Grommet, you want to know what the jackal's staple diet is? Rommet, not grommet. Grommets are things you put in your ears, or in your eustachian tubes. Rommet, apologies. Rommet, a jackal's staple diet, they're almost omnivorous. So they are scavengers. They will scavenge off carcasses. They'll eat birds' eggs. They'll eat insects, lots of insects. They will also eat berries as well. So they'll eat berries and fruits and anything that they can find in that sort of vein. But they are capable of hunting, particularly when you've got a family group, because the youngsters stay with the adults. So they are capable of hunting things like baby Thompsons, baby impala. It does happen. It's rare to see. Most of the time when we see them, they're sneaking in around a carcass that the lions have, and they're nibbling away. Every now and again, even eating lion scat, which is revolting to witness, but, you know, each to their own. Judge not, and all that. So that's their diet is very varied, and they are essentially opportunists. Basically, a similar ecological niche to something like a fox. I mean, they are part of the dog family, they're part of the canid family, and they do very similar things to foxes in the wild. Monogamous. I'm sure you're all wondering where Brent has disappeared off to. Well, the wonderful news is that he's still with his cheetah, and they are feeling high-spirited this morning. sorry about that. So much for that idea. Apparently Brent's audio has disappeared. In other words, he can't talk to you. Now, while he figures out what the problem is there, what's happening on that side, we are meandering in the direction of Musiara Marsh. Funnily enough, I was just talking about Malaika while we were off air and just chatting about how the first time I ever saw her was back off on this ridge on the other side of the Tulloch River, so not far from where we are now. And we were driving back when the grass was this high. And we were driving along a shortcut over the ridge rather than bumping on the main road. And, well, shortcut, it wasn't a shortcut, but it was smoother. And all of a sudden we looked up and there were these zebra that were just racing in our direction. And there was Malaika sprinting after them with her 2 boys in tow. That was the first time I ever saw Malaika. I've hardly spent any time with her since, actually. Need to remedy that. What I'm hoping to find around the marsh, because they have been around here, is Armani's 2 girls. So we met Imani a few days ago, their big sister. Now I want to see if I can find the 2 girls, because at some point soon, I imagine, they're going to split and they're going to move off and become completely independent from each other and completely solitary. So it'll be nice to spend as much time as we possibly can seeing 2 female cheetah together before they reach that age of independence. Piggy! Piggy and a shepherd's tree. There are some very striking trees out here because there's hardly any vegetation. Are you going to run away from me, pig? Don't do it. It's okay. You're a big boy. Here we go. Managed to stop without squeaky brakes. And there's some very, very large warthogs here. Massive tusks. You can see his bottom set. Those, of course, being the scene, which I've been dying to see here, is a group of banded mongoose grooming a warthog. I really, really want to see that. Here's the beautiful tree, shepherd's tree. Stark and very picturesque. Have to be tough to survive out here on the windy plains. So Rebecca, question in Final Control, would like to know if there's a reason that the warthog here are so much bigger than they are in Djuma. I don't think that on average they're that much bigger. I've seen some really large warthog in South Africa, no, but then again I've seen larger warthog here. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's food availability. It's access to resources. I'm not sure what the average weight is here versus in South Africa. It would be interesting to know, but I don't know it off the top of my head. I think it's simply resource availability. I want to see some more cute little piglets though. There's lots of them wandering about. I must have a look in my Estes book, because that does give the different weight averages for different places. A big male warthog, of course, can weigh up to over 100 kilograms, over 200 pounds, even up to 300 pounds. I reckon this chap hasn't quite reached that point yet, though. He's big. He's not that big. Oh, it's chilly here in the Mara this morning. Wind is howling. The sun is shy. It's hiding behind the clouds. Let's go and find ourselves a nice low-lying area, slightly more sheltered. Sorry, mister. after all of this rain, everything is looking fresh, green, and absolutely beautiful here in the Mara. Now, Djuma has a different, dry kind of beauty off across on that side of the continent.
Well, I'm not sure it's so wintry. I feel like we've made progress in the last few weeks of a little bit more greenery coming through. So it's starting to change. I mean, it's not completely summery just yet, but there is at least some green. It's just shades of green starting to and well, that makes things a lot better. Now, I'm sure you're wondering how our elephant tracking has gone. We found our elephants, but it seems to be the two shyest elephants in the entire world. There was also a zebra close to those elephants, and Viam and I reckon that maybe the zebra was chasing the elephants, and that's why they're running away from us, because we can't take blame for it. We didn't do anything. We just spotted the elephants, and then they started to run away from us. So I don't know what's going on, but we're going to try and get round to quarantine. They are heading up towards that area, and I'm hoping if it's nice and open, at least if it's long distance, we can at least get some view of our two Ellie bulls that are moving around. They both look like fairly young individuals, actually not as big as I first thought, so hopefully they will stick around. It might be because they're slightly smaller males that they're a little nervous of this noisy green object that's coming through the bush, but it would surprise me because to get to where they are now, they would have had to have come through quite a few of the other reserves, and I'm surprised that nobody else would have seen them. So it interests me as to why they're a little bit nervous, but they are. Either way, it doesn't, I suppose, really matter. But we just need to get up this hill and round onto the other side, and hopefully they will be somewhere where we can actually get to see them, and they'll actually stay still for us to be able to film them for a little bit. It was amazing though, how just watching them, they knew exactly where they were going. So as we tried to kind of turn to follow them, they immediately, tails were out, which is always a sign that elephants are a little bit kind of wary of what's going on, and they moved straight into the deepest thicket that they could and down into a drainage line. So it's almost like they know as soon as we go into here, you can't get anywhere near us, and this is where we're going to hide out. And so I don't know if we're going to get view of them again, but well, it's worth a try. Like I say, it's at the end of the day, I haven't seen Ellies in so long, so it's such a nice thing to see again. I'm hoping that this is going to be the kind of watershed moment, whereas now that we've got two of these young bulls, that the rest of the females start to come back and we start to get herds back, and hopefully even the herd with Fang in it. It would be nice to see them again. There's still no word. I know somebody asked me, I can't remember who it was, asked me a few days ago about it. Still no word on where Fang is or what she's been up to and how she's doing. So I'm sure she's around though. If you think about the lack of elephants that we've had over the last little bit, it makes sense that she's probably somewhere on one of the river systems just enjoying the springtime down at the beach, basically. That's what I think anyway, and hopefully she will be back inside at some point soon. Now, when I was with those when we spotted those elephants, we could see these male impalas straight across from where the Ellies theoretically should be. So we should be able to see them straight ahead of us now. That big thicket that you see right in front, that is where we lost them, is inside that big dense thicket in front of us. So hopefully they've popped out somewhere in this general vicinity. Even if we can just find their backs or their ears, that might even help us. What do you think, Vildi? Liam reckons the zebra got both these elephants and they're now unfortunately been consumed. Liam commented as we were going that zebra that we saw was about the fattest zebra that he's seen, and the best conditioned zebra that he's seen in a while. And so Liam has hypothesized that this zebra has eaten one of these elephants, and that's why, there we go, there's an elephant, but you can see it's actually being fairly relaxed. So I'm going to stop here just so we can at least see them, and it's at a jackalberry tree, so it's busy feeding, I think, of some of the fruits that are still maybe present on the jackalberry trees. It is late in the season for jackalberry fruits, but you will find that these Ellies do sometimes target them, and there might be a tree that's still got one or two residual fruit on them. But there we go. So as Rebecca is reminding me, this is the survivor of this attack from the zebras. It has managed to get away and managed to seek shelter in the drainage line where the zebra won't come. The zebra is going to stay on the plains and try and hunt from that area. But at least it's an elephant, so they do exist and they are around, and it's nice to see one of our big, large grey pachyderms again. It's been such a long time, and I love spending time with elephants. It's one of my favourite things to do. And while I've been absolutely spoilt by the leopards recently and spent a lot of time with them, I do sometimes miss being just in amongst the ellies and having those relaxed afternoons where you've just got elephants all around you, and the sun is setting, and it's just a beautiful time of the day, and such an special experience to have these big ellies all away around you and just to enjoy their company. But you can see still moving, not staying still, and they're moving right in this drainage section. So it's starting to warm up a little bit now. The sun is quite high, and I think it's getting a little hot for them, and that's maybe why they've gone into this drainage section. There's also a lot of cover, so if they're a bit nervous of us, they can hide and camouflage themselves. Now, it sounds quite strange to say that an elephant will camouflage itself, but it does happen. They are incredibly well adapted to blending into their environment, and we do see them blending in quite often. So I think it was Faith, Rebecca, maybe if you can repeat that, because Rebecca was giggling while she was telling me something, so I didn't get the name. But if it is Faith, you're a new viewer, so welcome to Safari Live. And Tristan, there we go. So sorry about that, Tristan, but you are a new viewer, so welcome to Safari Live, and welcome to the epicness that is this broadcast that brings you all of these amazing things from the middle of Africa. Now, you're thinking that I'm being serious about the zebras and VM's concern about the elephants. Now, unfortunately on this show, we do like to have a bit of a joke around, and we do like to have a little bit of fun at times, and so no, the zebras don't hunt the elephants. We were just kidding, and we were just making a little bit of a joke, and we were just having a bit of fun and making some fun of the situation and the fact that the elephants move away from us unexpectedly. They normally don't move this quickly, and so that's why we were just joking around about it. Zebras are actually animals that are grazers, so they'll eat grass. They're not going to worry the elephants at all. The ellies are completely unperturbed by the zebra. It's more the fact that we're driving around, and that's why this elephant has gotten a little bit nervous. There might be younger males that have split off from their herd recently, and they're just a little nervous of being out in the open with a big vehicle, and that's maybe why they're just on a bit of the nervous side. And there we go, we can at least see them quite nicely. But you see how that elephant has even changed direction. So it was coming straight up this drainage line, so where we are now, this little riverbed section in front of me, that would have been where it would have gone. But because of the vehicle, it almost seems as though it's veered off onto the other bank and is still starting to move that way. Now, because these animals are displaying a behavior where they are not impressed by us and are not really happy by us following, I'm not going to follow them any further. At the end of the day, we don't really want to stress any of these animals. We want to be able to view them and them to be completely relaxed. When we see behavior like this, where an animal is completely changing its direction of movement because of our vehicles, then it's time just to leave them and let them carry on. So even though it was really good to get a glimpse of the ellies, I'm not going to stress them anymore. I'm not going to pressurize them. I'm going to leave these bulls to carry on their way. They obviously don't want us to be around, so we're going to carry on and see what else we can find, and maybe see where these leopard tracks have ended up. And while we do that, let's go back to Jamie Patterson, who I believe is on her way home to breakfast. And I know yesterday she had a great discussion about breakfast and what she felt like, so I wonder what's on the menu for this morning.
I am a long way from breakfast still. I might stop and have a cup of tea. That's how far away from breakfast we are. I don't know what's for breakfast, but I hope it is amazing because I'm so excited. I hope it's eggs. I feel like eggs. I don't know what Simon and David have planned for us this morning, but we are still an hour and a half and a bit, hour and 45 minutes away. So breakfast is not immediately on our... What's happening over there? Is it geese making more geese? No, it's geese having a bath. Slightly cleaner of the two activities. Having a really lovely bath. Get those feathers all nice and clean and ruffled. He was ducking right under the water a moment ago. Naturally, Egyptian geese pretty much everywhere. Oh yes, give it a good dry, give that tail a good waggle. Make sure all those feathers are back in place now. Tough to do when the wind's howling like this, as you can see from the poor one on the right. I wonder what that feels like if you're a bird and the wind's blowing your feathers like that. Oh yes, you look beautiful. All clean and now strutting out of the water. Lovely. I can't believe this is the same place that I'm driving through. I took this road home 2 weeks ago. Oh, there's a hyena. I took this road home about 2 weeks ago with Ferg, and it was brown. Completely brown, and there was no water in any of these little, well, holes. I don't quite know what else you'd call them. Wallows. There's a hyena. There's a den site not far from here. Oh, badly timed, Jamie. I'm developing quite the talent for that. Sorry, hyena, should we give you some privacy? Doo-doo-doo. We must be nearly there. Ah, maybe quite a large meal. There we go, now we're done. Lots of fibre in the diet. Oh, there's a hyena den about, I would say about 1 kilometre to the west of where we are. And it's a really lovely hyena den, and I wish I'd actually had the opportunity to spend more time there. Because last time I drove past, there were tiny, tiny little cubs. I'm not sure what you'd call this group. The Marsh Clan, maybe. I'm not sure if they have an official name, or the Musiara Clan. No, they can't be the Marsh Clan, because there's a Marsh Pride. Musiara Clan. But there's a cheetah called Musiara. I don't know. I don't know what they'd be called. Hidden away behind the grasses. I have noticed, though, that they're quite shy. Oh, there's also another den site in a culvert, actually, and here comes another hyena. There's a chance they've actually moved somewhere closer. Here comes another hyena off to the right. Still quite far away, but coming to join the other. Keep themselves occupied with whatever hyena do on a Monday morning. Don't forget to send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter. We're probably going to move on from these hyenas. We've still got a way to go. And now that Tristan's mentioned breakfast, well, no, I can't. Oh, that's the third hyena. I don't know, I can't think of anything else. I wonder if they've got breakfast on their minds. Lots of them coming, I think, from the culvert in the main Governor's Road. There's another den site over there. So there's 3 hyena here. All being watched by the zebra. The zebra not too concerned, though. Alright, we're going to move on. We're going to carry on in the direction of breakfast. I'm also slightly concerned about our fuel. No, it's okay. Oh, that was a lot deeper than I thought. And just by the way, because the reason we're having slight problems with our fuel at the moment is because there's a problem with a fuel tank, or fuel pump, at Angama, which means that we are having to find ourselves alternative sources of fuel. I filled up partially in Talik. Taylor's filling up at Serena as we speak. We'll make a plan. It's not hardly a disaster, but it's just one of those things. And despite my best efforts, I think I've just arrived at the Governor's airstrip. I was trying to go around it. Always important when crossing an airstrip to look both ways, left and right. There's even signs to that effect somewhere. And the marvelous news, of course, is that David is Oh wait, hold on, this isn't the airstrip. Oh, the airstrip's there. There it is, found it. David is arriving back. David, of course, being one of our cameramen, he will be back today. We're all very excited. We've missed him enormously, and he's coming back, but he is not landing. Lots of hyena around. He's not landing at the governor's airstrip. He will be landing at Chitwa. I'm not even joking about the sign. I can see it up ahead. Right, I've already explained to you a little bit about the great fuel crisis of October 2017. Luckily, Taylor has managed to salvage her situation, and she's all done and back out on the road.
Woo! No more living life on the edge, which is actually kind of disappointing. I quite enjoyed the adrenaline rush of not knowing when the car was going to stop moving, but that won't be happening for quite some time. We're as full as the car can be, which is quite nice. But yes, I see there was many people there today actually, all filling up, so I think everybody knows what's coming. So making sure that they don't get stuck out in the middle of nowhere with no fuel. Hello animals, hello impala, hello zebra. Just going to go across and around up top towards the airstrip, just have a little look. I don't know where Scar's been hanging around lately, but I've seen him here, and he wasn't along the river, unless those cars that we'd seen earlier that I was telling you about were looking at him, and it was quite possible he could have just been laying in the grass and we wouldn't have even known he was there, because I couldn't see what they were filming. I don't think they would have been taking pictures of grass either. I don't think that's why people come to the Mara. So, what is that noise? You know when you hear a new noise on the car, it's terrifying. Rebecca says that grass is important too. Of course grass is important. It's the most important thing ever. Of course it's, well, animals have to eat to survive, and if the impala and the wildebeest had nothing to eat, then the lions would have nothing to eat because there would be none of them. I'm just scanning. Also, maybe we're going to see that rosy-breasted longclaw that lives along here. It's quite relaxed. That would be quite nice. Should we put that wish out to nature and see if it gives back? I think. So actually, it was along here. Maybe I can even hear it calling. Let me drive a little bit slower so I don't miss it. No, just seeing butterflies, aeroplanes taking off, but no lions or rosy-breasted longclaws in sight, I'm afraid. No, nothing around here. It's okay. Can't have it all. No, I'm not sure what our plan is. What we're going to do. If we're going to go towards the escarpment, or if we'll just take maybe we'll just take the middle road back and see if one of the other main roads, and see if the Sausage Street Prior aren't laying about now. Maybe they've moved out of their hidey hole. Well, they're just hiding from me yesterday. Everyone else seemed to have seen them. And no sightings of that male leopard today. I think a few people went looking for him, but they weren't lucky. And I spoke to a guy by the name of George. I just met him now at Serena, and he said he was there yesterday, in fact, which is quite nice. So I'm so glad that there were a few other people that got to see it. We'll just take this road. And he said he couldn't see what the leopard had killed, but it was tucked away in the bushes. So, pity. I was hoping to find out exactly what he'd taken down, but that definitely says it to me, though, that those lions chased him off that kill and stole what was left. He also said that one of those lionesses has got young cubs, which is quite exciting. So I think my plan this afternoon is to head across into that same area, and if we don't find the leopard again, hopefully we can find a lion with some young cubs, which would be nice. I think you'd all enjoy that. I haven't seen teeny tiny lion cubs yet. I haven't seen the Black Rock Pride, so the last set of small cubs that I saw was probably the Nkuhuma, no, the Sticks. The Sticks new cubs. And I wonder how they're doing. I wonder if they're alright and battling, or still battling with mange, or if they've seemed to have moved past that. Hopefully they've moved past that. They looked like they were going to be a tough bunch. And what's that? It's a rock. So I'm getting so distracted this morning. So many things. And I'm trying to focus on finding cats with their heads outside, well, that's outside, above the grass. My goodness. Right, Tristan, of course, speaking of lions, he's the leopard king. Maybe he's going to show you some lions. Who knows? Let's get an update about those Sticks cubs.
it's so cute. There's a little leopard tortoise, and it's a fairly small one that came down for a drink in one of these little mud wallows and is now trying to get away from us and from the vehicle, and is having trouble negotiating some rather steep land. But there we go, engage the 4x4, and up we go. Will it make it? Come on, little tortoise, go, come on, come on, there we go. So that's the one cool thing about tortoises. They might be small and they might have this big shell and be a bit awkward, but you can see they can move quite fast and they can negotiate quite rough terrain. And how they do it is basically each of those little 4 legs will try and grab some traction, and they've got nice long claws that dig in, and that helps to pull them up. And there it goes into the bush. Now, this is one of the first leopard tortoises that I've seen. In fact, the first one that I think I've shown live on Drive since we've had some rain. So really good to see them out and about. I love the leopard tortoises. They really cool little animals, and they are beautiful. They've got that rounded shell with intricate markings all over it, where it gets its name from. So those bright yellows and blacks and various other colors that it's got, and you can see just how well that blends in. As soon as they get into some sort of thicket, that broken pattern really helps these guys to blend so well. So it's just like a leopard in that it relies on camouflage in order to survive. But that was super cool, and not something I expected to see in heat like this. I would have thought our little tortoise would have been in the shade, but our tortoise decided it was drink time, so hopefully our leopard will also do the same. Now, it's not the leopard we were looking for, but still exciting nonetheless. Now, the last tracks that Herbie's got is for this male leopard moving northwards in the Mulawati. So I'm on Nyala Road South, and to try and see where they go. Now, Taylor McCurdy is wondering if I've seen the sticks recently and how the cubs are doing. Taylor Mac, I have not seen the sticks in, I would say about 5 weeks, I think is the last time I saw them. But they do still have a little bit of mange on them, the older ones. The 4 new ones look as fluffy and as cute as you could ever imagine. They're still tiny and they really do look very cute. The other older ones, well, they do have some scarring and some scabbing from the mange itself, but it doesn't look nearly as bad as what the cubs of last year were like. In fact, it's nowhere near as bad as that. Those cubs, unfortunately, we know eventually succumb to that mange, whereas these ones, I think they're going to be just fine. I think at the end of the day they're still going to be itching, but now that it's the summer months, hopefully we get a lot of rain, and that will just help to ease that mite off, and they'll basically end up with a situation where they should recover fully from it. So I expect good things from the sticks cubs, particularly the older ones. I just hope that those younger 4 that have just been born hopefully don't get it too early on, because the younger they are, the harder it is for them to overcome it. But the 2 older ones definitely are looking better, and the other younger, well, the middle ones now, they still showing some signs, still itching a little bit the last time I saw them, but not that bad. And they, I mean, they look a little bit scrappy, but they are slowly but surely seem to be coming right. So I think they'll be okay, and I hope that they're going to make a bounce back. The other sort of, while we're talking about lions and just updates on the lions itself, I know a lot of you have been concerned about the Nkuhuma female and how she looks and how her massive wound is doing. So for those of you that are new viewers that don't know who we're talking about, well, the Nkuhuma female, she's one of our Pride members of the Pride we see the most here. They've been absent for a little bit, but that's because they've been eating a whole bunch of giraffe to the west of us, and hopefully they will come back into our area. But she has a really nasty gash on her left hip. It's very, very deep and big, and it looks incredibly bad, but it seems to be closing up slowly but surely. And a friend of mine who is a vet was here this weekend, and he actually saw the Nkuhuma Pride, and he was telling me that tissue is really healthy and it looks good. It's granulated tissue, and so he reckons that that's going to cover up no problem. He doesn't think that there's going to be too much of an issue. She's keeping it really clean. It looks healthy. She looks healthy herself, and so he reckons that will cover up. He thinks she probably won't have any hair that will grow there. It will probably be a big black patch on her hip area, so she might have a situation where, you know, she'll be easily recognizable by having this dark patch on her hip, but she will survive from it and she will be okay, which is just absolutely astounding to me, because that wound was not small in any way whatsoever, and for her to be able to kind of deal with that and to be able to survive that is quite something. The bit of bad news though with the Nkuhuma Pride is that it sounds like one of the little ones of the newest litter is no longer there, is missing from the Pride. So it sounds like only 2 little ones have been seen over the last few days and not 3, so I think one of them might be missing, but we'll try and see, and hopefully they'll end up coming this way. I believe they're on Elephant Plains still this morning, so I'm hoping that they do head this side. Now, while I just check around and see where if these male leopard tracks do come out on the northern side towards sort of Gari cut line, let's head back to Jamie Patterson. I don't know where she is or whether she's close to home just yet, but what I do know is that she's got one of the fastest antelope in the whole of Africa.
I have got one of the fastest antelope in Africa, but at the same time, this little one isn't going to be running anywhere anytime soon. So to take your mind off the worry on over the Nkuhuma cub, we have got a brand new baby Topi. We must have missed the birth by an hour at the most. You can see Mum she did still have a little bit of blood around her rump, and this little one is still wet. So this is a new little life that has just emerged into Musiara Marsh. For rest, and it has been suckling already. When we first arrived, it was feeding. Now that it's taken a few skips and jumps, and it really did. I mean, it's amazing. It's only been born for a few minutes, and it's already tottering around. But now it needs a little bit of a sleep, and so does Mum. Well done, girl. Guarding over her tiny little new bundle. Too cute, little ears flapping about. Now if we sit here patiently for a bit, we might even see it stand again. Although it's had a pretty exhausting day already, so we definitely don't want it to feel pressured. Proud Mum. She looks very proud of herself, or perhaps that's just my imagination. Oh, little movement. Oh, baby, you've got to strengthen those legs. By the way, this I know we're all feeling a little bit still shell-shocked from the baby elephant, but this little baby Topi's absolutely fine. It's just having a rest. It's just having a little sleep after its first few footsteps, and as I said, it's already had its first drink. It's so knock-kneed, though. When it gets up and wanders around, its back legs sort of cave in. It is utterly adorable. I'm hoping if we sit patiently, although I think it's probably going to have a nap for now, but I'm hoping if we sit patiently, maybe you'll get to see it stumble about a little bit. Totter is a perfect description. These ridiculously long legs that they're born with. I'm sorry, Bex, I've turned you down so much I didn't actually hear that question properly now. I know the question comes from Jordan, and it has something to do with antelope, which is different. And we do get different species. So Thompson's gazelle you will not see in South Africa, but you will see springbuck, not so much on Djuma, unless you're very lost. You won't see springbuck on Djuma, but you will in South Africa. They look very similar. You'll see kudu and inyala. I have seen some bushbuck here in the Mara, but I haven't seen a kudu or an inyala wandering about here, whereas I have seen lots of eland in the Mara, which I haven't that side. Their birthing season differs. The Topi are all giving birth now around about a similar time as the antelope in South Africa, but the impala don't have a strict breeding season in the way that they do in South Africa, which is why the males are so much bigger here, because they actually need to compete for a far longer period of time than the males do in South Africa during the strict breeding season. So those are just some of the examples of the differences. Obviously, wildebeest are an antelope, and you don't see them in nearly the same numbers back home in South Africa as you do here. Even during the non-migration periods, where it's just the loiter herds. She's ruminating. It's actually quite helpful, I suppose, to be an antelope if you've just given birth, to have a nice supply of cud just waiting to be chewed. Cheryl, no, the black marks are not bruises. That's the pattern of Topi's fur. So there is a type of hartebeest called a coax hartebeest or a Congoni here in East Africa, and it looks very similar to a Topi, but it's very pale in color. And I know that VM's already entertained you all with some very highly strange comments. The one morning we saw some Coke's hartebeest, he looks at them and he looks at me and he goes, "Those Topi forgot to put their pants on this morning." So no, that's just what Topi looked like. She must already have passed the placenta at this point, which she most likely would have eaten most of. Up we get. So careful not to stand. Yes, the antelope do most of the time. They will eat the amniotic sac after the birth. And it helps, of course, to replenish their nutrients, but most importantly, it helps to get rid of the smell of a newborn baby because they're so vulnerable in these first few hours, and it doesn't do to attract a predator. And you've just seen how many hyenas are lurking around. This mother's very lucky that none of them have found her. And the whole process, there we go, look, up we get. Wobble, wobble. Wobble, wobble. There you go, breakfast time. Mom's going to give you a good clean. See what I mean about the knock and eat? And it's windy today, little one. There we go. Oh, marvellous. You know, you shouldn't really run before you walk, or so they say. But I'm not sure that applies in the antelope world. So Mum there stimulating movement of the digestive system. So essentially to get the little one to defecate. You'll find that with most mammals. They will do that or need to do that to their youngsters. Which is why if you ever find yourself hand-rearing kittens or puppies or anything like that, you have to rub them in order to stimulate that process. You can still see the umbilical cord there. Hop, hop, wobble, wobble. Strengthen up those legs. Look how tiny its face is compared to Mum. It's ridiculous. No, Mum's leg's in the way there, so is her tail. You're going to have to go round. Frank, you say a star is born. There you go. The star takes its first few steps. First few gallops, whatever. Never suits. A little overachiever over here. Imagine how surreal this whole process must be to the little one. I suppose they're not fully grasping, but they're so much more developed than human babies are when they're born. So their senses are all starting to fire off synapses in their brains. All those muscles being used, all of a sudden they're hearing the wind, the smell of the grass. Whoopsie, speed wobble. Ah, very neatly covered up, very smooth little one. Legs that fold like a trestle table. Oh, so sleepy. So much overstimulation. It's gorgeous. Well done, Mum. Can't believe we missed it. We were so close. Oh well. It's one of those things you have to get really lucky with. And it's always special when you do. Mum's already gone back to breakfast. Come on, little one. Mum knows what's best. Here we go. Proper clean. Seek truth. The best time for a baby animal to be born is at exactly this time of day. So around about the morning time, when it's starting to heat up, the lions, leopards and hyenas are all generally ensconced in either some shade or, in the case of the hyenas, in some water, to spend the rest of their days resting, or the rest of their day resting. There's no guarantee that a hyena won't come across it, or a lion, but for the most part this is the best possible time, and you'll find that most babies are born between now and mid-afternoon. Sometimes, of course, obviously the mum doesn't have any control over it, nor, I think, does she reason that that is the best time for her. So sometimes, you know, like with James and the zebra foal, it's born at night, which obviously isn't ideal, but there's still a good chance that as long as everything's kept quiet and clean, there's still a good chance that mum will get away with it and she'll be able to safely get the baby up onto its feet and able to run. From there, it's really anybody's guess. There's so many predators out here, and that little one is snack-sized and not quite as fast, but you can see why it would need to be born with such long legs, to be able to move as quickly as possible. And speaking of people moving, no, that's not going to work. I tried to make a tenuous connection in my mind, but it didn't quite play out the way I wanted to. Off you go to Tristan, who is bumbling about a Djuma.
Now, we're still sitting at Gowrie Dam, and the reason why is because Herbie is south of me at the moment, and he's still following the tracks for this young male leopard, and he's still trying to kind of decode where he's gone. But what he was saying to me, I saw him just now and actually had a nice little chat so we could catch up on properly what was going on and not over the radio. But he was saying to me that these tracks look like they are from sort of middle of last night, and he says this poor leopard has had a tough time with hyenas. The hyenas have followed it the whole way along, so that's maybe why this leopard has moved a lot further than what I would have expected for one of these young males. I would have thought if it is Hosanna or Tamba, either one of them, that they would have stopped a lot more than what they have. Herbie says there's not many places where this leopard has laid down. It lay down a little bit on Twin Dams at Elephant Carcass and then just kept going north all the time and has gone past all the normal places that we see these leopards spending time. And so it's an interesting thing. But what I also wonder is, with Tundi calling, I wonder if maybe it's not Tamba and he's heard his mom and is now trying to find her, and that's maybe why he came up this way. So it's going to be interesting this afternoon just to keep going with it, even though we haven't found it or had any luck just yet. Herbie's still trying and we're still trying to find them, and I would imagine that we didn't find any tracks crossing over towards Mvubu or anything like that. So I'm hoping that this leopard is just somewhere inside the Mulawati drainage using a bit of the shadow and shade. It's starting to get warmer now, and so I'm hoping that that leopard is somewhere there and that we'll be able to get lucky this afternoon. But what I was looking at while we were sitting here and while I was trying to kind of scan around is just the various water birds. I was talking about it earlier when we were here this morning, and there are a few water birds now. There's the blacksmith lapwing, which is scuttling about on the edge of the water. They're quite common at waterholes. We do see them very regularly at all of our waterholes. And another bird that we see a lot at the waterholes is also three-banded plovers, and there was one, I can't see it now. Oh, here it is. It's right here in front. You see it just closest to us here, Vildi. So there we go. There's our three-banded plover, and they are also a very common bird for us at our waterholes. We see them all over the place, and they're one of the prettier birds at water. I like these guys. I like their sort of little crown that they've got, and then that fancy necklace, or two necklaces if you want to count the black lines. It depends on how you look at it. Is it white or is it black? And then you can see a little bit of the white sort of shoulders that they've got as well, and always quite busy birds moving around on the edges. And that's part of the reason why I like them, is they don't really sit still for more than a second. They seem to walk around all the time, and they're always sniping and looking and trying to kind of move around on the edge of the water source. So nice to see them as well. I was hoping that there might be some of the other sandpipers here, so maybe the common sandpiper or even the marsh or green sandpipers. Those are both ones that we always look out for. They tend to be quite migratory, so it's difficult to kind of see them, and so it's always good to check little flooded areas like this. Now I'm going to carry on and just check a little bit more onto the other side of this, but I think this afternoon I'm probably going to be heading back into this area and try and finish up this tracking process and hopefully finish up with a leopard at some point. I'll chat to Herbie and we'll try and figure it out. So that's going to be the plan for this afternoon, but I'm going to sign off for now, and I'll see you all later on our sunset safari. And I believe I need to link to somebody, but I can't remember who, but I think I'm going to go with Jamie. That's what my guess is going to be, and let's see if I win it or if it's going to be a 50-50 chance between her and Taylor.
You lose, Tristan. no breakfast for you, but I have a song for all of you this morning. Baby bacons, when I see your happy faces smiling back at me. Baby bacons. There's a couple of little sausages moving in and amongst the grass at the moment. You know what warthogs are like, of course. Once they realize that you're watching them, they run off and hide away, and that's exactly what they've done. But I don't blame the sow having 3 young piglets next to her side. It's obviously quite risky to be out in the open for birds. I mean, there's massive eagles around here that would quite happily snatch up one of those sweetie pies. They really are such precious little things, and they're probably about 2 weeks old, I would say. They're not teeny tiny. I've seen some smaller ones. They're growing up quite quickly. Maybe this female had more and has unfortunately lost them. That wouldn't surprise me. They don't have a very good success rate. But she's much more comfortable now feeding in the taller grass. And you can see the little ones, they're actually completely oblivious of us now. They were staring us down. But the fact that Mom's got her bottom into the air and the little ones are mimicking her, that makes my heart very happy, and that she's so comfortable with us. So those little ones will be feasting on grass, or at least trying to. Whether they'll be getting much, I'm not so sure, but they'll definitely still be suckling. That's going to go on for a little while. And I've only ever had that one amazing sighting, maybe you remember it, is in the Sabi sand at Djuma, and we had that warthog with her little piglets going into the termite mound, and then she came back out again, out of her burrow, and that one just suckled right next to the car. They were so close, they were only a couple of meters away. That was really a special sighting. I will never ever forget that, but I know that you're always very happy to see little piglets come out. Grass is starting to get a little bit shorter, so maybe we'll be in luck. Yes, there's a gap there. You can actually see Mom now. There we go. Hi, little sausages. There they are. I think you can see. They are so precious. And a dragonfly flying across the screen too. There's many of them around at the moment. Especially if we're up across the other side. At the moment, the cheetah have been fantastic. They've really been so valuable. So we've been spending quite a bit of time with them. And then we also had some crossings. So you'll find when you're on the other side of the river in the reserve, you're pretty much out at about 6 o'clock in the morning, coming back after afternoon's drive, after the sunset safari. So yeah, we spend hours and hours. The little one looks like it's trying to suckle. You might not win from that angle. Maybe you can find a teat there, and that will help. But it does look like there's one little piglet that's desperately trying to get some milk. Oh, no, look at them. They're all jumping over one another, making sure, well, I'm sure there'll be a little battle there as to who gets the teat that's producing the most milk. That's very precious. It's a pity the grass is so long. But that's okay. Now, we've obviously spent quite a bit of time with our little warthog friends. I'm not going to keep you any longer. Let's go across to Jamie and her knock-kneed Topi.
The knock-kneed Topi is upstanding and sort of investigating its new world with great enthusiasm. Occasionally slightly too much enthusiasm, and it finds itself with a bit of a speed wobble problem. But it is utterly adorable, is it not? Come on, got to strengthen up those back legs. That's what's going to propel you. One day you're going to be the fastest antelope. There we go, breakfast. Come on, you can do it. Oh, whoops, we missed. Distraction. It was suckling for a long time when we first arrived, so I think it's not its main priority anymore. Look at that, that's a tail, yes. Wobble, wobble. That little tail's ridiculous, is it not? Too sweet. I have to be honest, I think what's strongly on its mind at the moment is its first defecation. Seems to be, oh wait, hold on, no, we're going to go for a run. Whoa. Wobble, wobble. Well done, little one. Just by the way, we do apologize this morning. We do sincerely team is working on it as we speak. So we should be up and running and better by this afternoon sunset safari. So it is time for us to do our farewells and our thank yous. Thank you to Jahawi for the lovely camera work, and thank you to Rebecca in Final Control, our team in South Africa, as well as the rest of the Mara team. Most importantly, the big thank you goes to you, and of course to this mother Topi for allowing us to experience a special little moment at the end of the sunrise safari with a darling little baby.